Welcome everybody to the Fishing Coach YouTube channel. I got a special guest today, Trent Owens. Trent this last year has made over $30,000 in the Central Pro Arkansas tournaments in a variety of series between Mr. Bass and Trader Bills and many other tournaments. We're about to go in depth on the success you've had this year, talk about more features that can help you guys go out and catch more fish. Let's get into it. Trent, I appreciate you being on today. And one thing I know that's something very important to you, and you've talked about, I've heard others in the fishing community, is your relationship with your dad. Tell a little bit more about your dad and how y'all fished together and how he got you into fishing.
So Dad, he took me, I guess, when I was about 6, 7 years old, took me to my first tournament, and I ain't looked back since. You know, he's taught me everything I know. I mean, it's unreal. Fishing with Dad is very special. I hope we got many more years to come.
I know y'all won a lot of tournaments together, even this year. I don't want you even to think about the number y'all won together, but I know one special one was the Trader Bills at Lake Ouachita. Can you kind of go in depth on what that meant to you and him and just the day?
Yeah, you know, we fished a lot of Trader Bills circuits together. Trader Bills is probably one of the toughest tournaments in the state of Arkansas to fish. These guys in Arkansas they are really good. And we've had several opportunities to win some of these bigger tournaments, and we just always come up short. That day there was really special. I mean, it come down to the last 30 minutes, and you know, it was just one of those days that was meant to be. It was time for me and Dad to win. And we caught, in the last 30 minutes, we caught three fish back to back over 4 pounds to seal the deal.
Awesome, man, awesome. Now, also real quick, before we get into the next segment, you and your dad, it seems like you always find a way to catch big fish. You've had big fish in multiple tournaments this year, even Rusty Hook, Mr. Bass. Who catches between you and him the big fish? Is it him or you?
Well, it's a good mixture between the two. You know, I'm always pretty much on the one on the front, running the Panoptics, so I get to just about get the first crack at it, which I'm glad he lets me do it. So, but he's still, you know, he's got the jig in his hand. He's got the power fishing going on. He's gonna catch his part too.
Now, Trent, not only do you fish a lot, you're on the water a lot, as we just found out, been on the water since you're 6, 7 years old, but you also have worked at Futural Marine for 16 years. You've installed the electronics. You've been a part of all the electronics from the 2D to forward face and side imaging. You work on the motors. But when you are in a boat, because you've been in a lot of boats, what is one factor that you look for when you're picking out a boat?
You know, probably the stability of it. How it fishes. If you got 2 people up here on the front deck, how it rocks back and forth, if it's pretty sturdy in the water. You know, the ride performance of it. You know, this Triton here that we're sitting in right now is a really good boat. It's probably gonna be one of my favorite boats that I've been in.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing I like about this Triton is the wider deck. Part of the performance side of it, when you're running down the lake, when you got this thing wide open, 71, 72, 73 miles an hour, there's no wobble in this boat. Mm-hmm. It's not like the older Tritons where you really got to drive it to keep it straight. You can let go of the wheel, rock on 72, 73 mile an hour. You're not going to get past very much. On takeoff, whole shot, you know, you're going to be the first boat out of the line. Mm-hmm. And that way you don't have to ride everybody's waves.
Yeah, that's another one thing you mentioned to me. You said this might have been one of your favorite boats you've ever been in. You've been in a lot of boats, Rangers, Tritons, Bass Cats. It's pretty interesting. And I know, like, people for me that like have fished with me, I'm not a big NASCAR driver, but it sounds like you like to run this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You like to run it a little bit. And guys, just one thing I'm going to share real quick. This boat is actually for sale. You've had it for 2 years. It's for sale right now. If you're interested in this 2022 Triton 20 TRX, there's going to be information down in the description. The fish and juice part, and a lot of people want to know. I know when people didn't even know that I talked like, hey, what's Trent catch them on? I'm like, man, dude, Trent don't even talk to me about it. But because you're very secretive, you're that old school guy. But this year, pinging the minnow, that jig head minnow has been a big technique. Has that been y'all's player, or there have been other players as well, such as a jig, crankbait, Alabama rig? Like this year up to this point, talk about the techniques.
Yeah, some. I mean, we catch some on the jig head minnow, but I don't throw it as much as what I should have because I ain't got my confidence on it yet. But mainly still old school stuff, you know, throwing a jig, throwing a jerkbait, throwing a crankbait, throwing an A-rig. You know, even since this Panoptic stuff come out, I mean, you still catch fish on it. mainly what I utilize my screen for as far as the Panoptics goes. I got my GPS, my 10-inch GPS, and then I've got my 12-inch Garmin that I use for my Panoptics. It's really utilizing and making you fish faster, but fish efficient. I could pull up to a piece of structure, in 2 or 3 casts, I'm in, I'm out. That's the main thing is being more efficient with your products.
And I know when we're talking back and forth, because you love to fish offshore. You've been doing it forever. I have too, and since I'm on the water so much the last 2 years, I've kind of adapted. You're still what I say. You have your GPS points. You graph them. You mark them. You're throwing it at. I call it throwing it dots. Me and Johnny Schultz from Fish the Moment call it throwing it dots. It was on Bass Talk Live the other day. You're using Panoptics. You'll throw it fish in the brush, but you're doing dots to where, like me, I graph these areas. I'm in so many other people's boats. I don't even worry about GPS anymore. I graph areas, see the brush or the drop. I drop the live scope, I'll fish it. The next thing you know, I go down the way. I kind of get my ADHD as we're talking and kind of gets going. So there's so many different styles with fishing offshore.
Right. You bet. You can sit out there in the middle of those channels right now and chase all the fish you want. During this time of year, during the fall, you can stay in the creek, you can stay in the river arms, and you can chase them for days. And that's where the majority of the fish are at right now anyway, if you want to go chase them. But most time, as far as my success this year is really utilizing my graph and fishing stuff quicker, faster, and make sure you hit it right.
And being multiple. That's what a lot of people think. It's just the spinning rod. It's this dude back here, but you're still using old school techniques with new school ways.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, last thing Trent want to talk about is decision making on the water. With your success this year and as many fish you've caught, big fish, you had to make decisions on the water. There's a lot of factors in decision making. Confidence, listening to your gut, your instinct. How do you get better at making decisions on the water?
Well, that's kind of a hard question because it's every time you go out, you're always down yourself. Oh, I made the wrong decision. I should have been over there. Or I should have went and hit this. It's always in your head. You should have done this. Should have done that. Main thing in these lakes that we have around here, they're clear. You won't, in my opinion, you want a little bit of wind to really help you get that bite. So when I'm making my decisions, I'm trying to make them on where the wind's blowing, and where it's not, because most of the time I'm gonna be where the wind's at. I feel like the confidence for me, that's where I'm gonna catch them. And just staying in the primary areas, staying close to a creek channel, staying close to a river channel. 9 times out of 10, that's where most of your big ones are going to come from. But that's the main thing. Clear water is, you've got to have a little bit of breeze. And as long as I have that and I'm on my right stuff, I got confidence in catching them.
Interesting. And I know wind to me has always been a confidence deal as well, depending if I'm fishing shallow or offshore. But there's a few guys I know even in these clear lakes that don't like wind because it makes it tougher and they rather it be tougher. But man, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your insights and being on the Fishing Coach YouTube channel. Guys, my man Trent here. Today's his first time on a camera, and he's done a wonderful job, but it was really hard to get him out here, okay? So if you want to see Trent again, leave me a comment down below. There's a lot of fishing knowledge right here, a lot of success. I learned from him when I talked to him. I'm about to go out there and try to catch some fish. He won't take me probably any of his juice hose, but I'm going to try. Guys, we'll appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you guys staying for the Faith Juice segment here. Really quick, man, I want to say thank you to Trent for being a part of, guys. This was kind of like a short little interview to where, I had my podcast for a while, and I kind of put the podcast on pause. The podcast was called Real Life and Fishing. Kind of put it on pause because of everything else that was going on, and I can only do so much at a time. But I am going to bring the podcast back once I get my FCA job going, which I'm right now in the middle of my fundraising. If you want to hear more about that, guys, I fundraise my salary for FCA through people and businesses that want to be a part of me going out and make a difference in kids' lives. If you want to hear more information on it, my Facebook's down there in the description, or you can send me an email, and I love to FaceTime talk to you. But guys, I just kind of went everywhere there. I wasn't actually doing that plug, but that just kind of happened as I need to talk about that. But this was kind of like a video to where I wanted Trent to kind of, y'all can get to hear Trent, kind of give him a chance to talk and get an audience out there. Man, he's a heck of a fisherman, good dude, and he's very talented in what he does with works on boats and, like I said, in fishing as well. But guys, now on the Faith Juice segment, we're going to talk about today. In this segment, guys, if you're new to the channel, I've got a lot of positive feedback I'm about to share. Today I actually got a little scripture to share, something that something that I've not actually talked about much on this segment yet. I've had some things I've kind of go back and forth on, but this one is making the most of your mistakes. We all make mistakes as men and ladies, and how do you respond to them? One scripture I got here is 1 Corinthians 1:27. It says, "Instead, God has chosen the world's foolish things to shame the wise, and God has chosen the world's weak things to shame the strong." So hearing even that scripture right there, one thing that I have a quote here that says is, "Everybody makes mistakes, and so will you. In fact, success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm." So when you make a mistake, okay, it is easy to be down. It's easy to be hard on yourself. It's easy to be down there in the dumps. But if you keep that enthusiasm and power forward, you are going to become better and learn from it. So that's one thing I've always tried to talk kids and myself: learn from your mistakes, okay? And I know for me, of course, I had a lot of mistakes in my life. I've seen people make mistakes, and I've seen people rebounded. So no matter where you're at in life, that's one thing I've seen about this is you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 30s, 40s. You make mistakes, you have a chance to come out of it and succeed, okay? Appreciate you guys once again. Thank you for following along. And hey, talking about making mistakes, how about on the water? How many times you ain't going to catch some fish and not catch some fish, and then all of a sudden, boom, you do. So you're going to have some failure, and then you're going to have to succeed. So I know one thing, once again, this is all just coming to me as I'm talking about fishing and all this. There's a lot of times on the water you need to stay positive. Stay positive, stay positive, stay positive when they're not biting, because you never know when they are going to stop biting and when you need to be ready for that action, okay? Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.